Second time in power then, and the Taliban faced two immediate challenges. One, forming a government when even they were surprised at how quickly the capital fell. And two, a country and capital full of people displaced by fighting, a humanitarian crisis. They will need foreign aid. But the West, America in particular, has another preoccupation.
Everybody's in Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda, the Central Asian groups, the Chinese groups, multiple Pakistani groups, up to a dozen Pakistani groups, and they've been fighting with the Taliban in this recent offensive. Now, how is the Taliban going to suddenly turn around and tell all these militants to go home or get lost or disappear because we want to have good relations with the Americans? They're not going to do that.
We are a generation on now from what seemed then a final farewell to the Taliban.
It's now early afternoon and they're rolling their heavy armour right into the centre of the city.
20 years ago, anti-Taliban forces roared into Kabul, and we witnessed the Taliban flag taken down at the international airport. The days of compulsory beards were gone. Kites could be flown once again. The ban on women working or being educated was over. So too the public floggings and the public executions at the football stadium. So the key question now, have the Taliban changed?
I think you're going to get a mixed bag. They're not going to allow a free press. They will insist upon girls' schools being separated from boys' schools.
So goodbye to all this. Tolo TV, a symbol of Afghans' totally free media for the past 2 decades. Say what you want about who you want. Nobody's going to lock you up. Well, as these pictures show, the Taliban have already been round this morning, but not yet to control the message.
We were in contact with them yesterday, with the spokesperson, with some of the military officials. They're actually quite efficient. And as a matter of fact, they also asked if we needed protection inside the compound, to which we said thanks, but no thanks. Nonetheless, we did ask them to keep an eye on the street because our biggest fear, and I think this is also for most Afghans, is the sort of the criminal activity and the looters and anarchy basically scares people more than even the Taliban.
And you can't know which type of Taliban will turn up on your doorstep. There's the sophisticated leaders like Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, seen here signing an agreement with the Americans. But what real control do they have over their fighters on the ground?
There are going to be a lot of militants out in the rural areas and the countryside who are possibly not going to like any moderate or liberal, if you like, traditions being set for the sake of the cities and for the sake of international opinion. Now, the Taliban spokesman has made it clear that women will be treated with respect. They will be able to go to school and university. Now, whether his orders are going to be followed in the countryside is another story.
The Taliban will likely bring order where the invaders could not. Expect more moderate noises at first. Then, with foreign charities and China perhaps pouring in money, a new constitution in a few months, full Sharia justice, ministries for mullahs. With Kalashnikovs and homemade bombs, their victory over the American arsenal is absolute. So will their rule be equally so?
Well, earlier I spoke to Abdullah Anas. He's a former mujahideen who fought alongside Osama bin Laden against the Russians, but split with him when bin Laden formed al-Qaeda. He knows many of Afghanistan's leaders, including those inside the Taliban, and over the years has worked to bring about dialogue between them. He's written a book about his time in Afghanistan called To the Mountains. I began by asking him if the Taliban had really changed.
I can say it's big difference in the behavior of Taliban. They straight, when they entered Kabul in 1996, straight went to the house of the UN, and then they took Najibullah with his brother and hanging him in the streets of Kabul without respecting any the measurements of the UN and the international community, and they started in the brutal way dealing with their political enemies or opponents in Kabul. And this is what happened yesterday. I don't see this level of violence or the brutality of the Taliban. Is this, as your question, is this just to keep everything calm and then we'll start the accusations and the hanging the people in the street, or no? This is completely, it shows a sign that really Taliban changed and they want to rule in another way, different to the way of 1996.
So I suppose the only evidence we have is that women say they're being sent home from the office, that there are reports that the Taliban is going door to door looking for people who supported the government or supported international governments. That suggests they may not have changed that much at all.
So that's why the way they started yesterday and the way they started from before, even from the districts and the provinces, they show some, they are not the same Taliban of the past. But this is some questions from the Afghani people. Is Taliban are going to change the way they are ruling, going to rule Afghanistan, or they don't change? So this is for the next 1 or 3, 4, 5 days, everything will be clear.
You knew Osama bin Laden. I wonder, in the past, the Taliban gave al-Qaeda a safe haven. Will that happen again, do you think?
I cannot confirm will that happen or not, but depends on the agreements Taliban signed with the Trump in the Doha last year. They said clearly we are going to stop and not anymore any link or any relationship with Al-Qaeda and its sisters, all the foreigner fighters. And this is...
But do we believe that?
Good question. I don't know how to answer this question. It's a responsibility. Even though I am in touch with some levels with the Taliban, I think they hate it. It's not only as a decision, political decision. I think they don't like it because the consequences of giving a space to Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan caused this damage for Afghanistan. The idea of reopening the borders or the Afghani lands for these irresponsible activists will cause another damage. And this is, I hope, inshallah, could be very clear to Taliban.
But knowing what you know about the Taliban, about Al-Qaeda, does the Taliban being in control make the world a more dangerous place now?
As someone coming from that background, as a former mujahideen in Afghanistan, my advice should not give any space to this bloody organization, because Syrian people hate it, the Yemeni people hate it, the Afghani people also hate it, because they have no achievement except blood and blood. So this is a moment for Afghanistan, even whether to be ruled by Taliban. My advice should not give any space to this bloody activists, Al-Qaeda or ISIS or whatever.
Abdullah Anas, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.